Okay, so now we come to the business end of this line, and the main move here is knight captures d7. And after that, most of you are expecting bishop captures d7, but here comes the surprise, guys. We are going to capture with the queen, and it has a valid point. Now, as you can see, I have highlighted by the arrows, there are three major options from the white. And amongst them, if you look at the database here, bishop to c4 is by far the most popular choice. And against this, now we are going to reveal why we have taken back with the queen, as black has this lethal reply in this position, namely b5. Well, if white bishop has come this far, then he has to go to b3, as bishop to e2 is just a loss of tempo. So bishop to b3, what else? Keeping that lovely diagonal. But exactly here, the fun begins with c5. And no matter however white plays, I think black already get upper hand at just 7th move of the game. Now, would you believe, even in FIDE games, white has played the move either castle and bishop to e3, and in both the case, you know the consequences. Yup, c4 trapping down this white bishop. So that is right out of the equation. If your opponent continue with moves such as c3, then the answer is very simple. You exchange on d4, and no matter however white plays, let's say queen takes, we exchange queen, and at the end, white get the IQP, a horrible weakness in the endgame, and anybody who knows endgame very well can definitely assure that this is a slight advantage position to the black camp. So that leads to the third option, and that is, what about capturing this pawn? And against this, black response is very obvious. Queen exchange, misplacing the white king, and then regaining the pawn back, which not only attacks the f2, but overall, black piece is streaming out in this line. For example, one of my recent game, my 2100 rated opponent continued with rook to e1, counter-attacking my pawn. I simply give this check, and my opponent was delighted to play f3 as the e-pawn is pinned. But what has been missed out is, black has this nice cunning move, castle on the queen side, not only checking the queen but unpinning the pawn, so that after bishop to d2 and pawn captures f3, it doesn't matter however white plays, he get a completely lost position. For example, in the game he tried the move h3. Well, I took on g2, and after pawn takes g4, this lovely g1 equals queen force white to give up the exchange. And definitely with the careful play, it is black who is playing for the full point. The second move I want to consider is knight to c3, attacking the e4. Well, we are going to pin this knight. And please note, there is no bishop d2 available here as the d4 pawn drops. So by far, the most popular choice is bishop to c4, trying to castle on the king side. Well, black does the same, knight to f6, and after a white castle, here comes another tricky moment where by force we get a completely upper hand with this following transaction. Bishop takes c3, pawn takes c3, and now you got the point. The reason why we play queen to d7 is after our queen to c6, suddenly black is attacking two spots, and trust me, it is not easy to defend for the white. For example, there is a high profile game in the database where white continued with queen to e2, defending the bishop. Black castle on the king side, and white natural enough continue with bishop to g5 so that he can deflect the black queen. But here comes the winning blow, bishop to g4, and please note queen cannot move as the bishop on c4 hangs. So sadly enough, white has to play f3. But this simply allowed to weaken the white king, and on top of everything, after the move bishop to f5, white has to yet again be very careful as rook to e8 coming up, and that will dislodge the queen from this bishop. Well, in the game, black tried bishop takes f6, but after simple queen takes f6, the net result is, yes, the material is balanced, but look at the white position. He has some horrible double pawn on the queen side where his king is wide open. And indeed, at the end, black managed to exploit these factors and win the game. Last but not least, the third critical response white can play over here is c4. And against this, there are two ways you can maneuver the knight to the f5 square. Well, in the game, black tried knight to h6 and then launch on f5. However, if you do not like this move order, then definitely the other route is you can try knight to e7 and then f5, which more or less goes to the same direction. Okay, knight to h6, white plays knight to c3, and after knight to f5, you can see the danger. The d4 pawn is hanging, and accordingly, white has three responses. Number one, if they continue with knight to e4, then the simplest is you take on d4, and after the queen exchange, there is a threat on c2, so white should play bishop to d3, whereupon bishop to f5 gives black a fast development of pieces with some ongoing attack. There is a game in the lichess which goes as follows. White continue with bishop to d2. Black indeed castle on the queen side. And after white castle on the queen side, he get root shock with knight to b3 check, which not only misplays the white pawn structure, but the end result after rook captures d3, black obviously stands better. So it is pretty clear that knight captures e4 gives black a completely easy game. So how about the second option, bishop to e3? Well, this time around we have easy response. You play the move c5, attacking on d4, and after the natural response d5, what else but taking down this important bishop, so that after moves like f5, white has a clear weakness on e3, and with the bishop pair, black obviously stands quite well. So that leads to our last option. How about d5 here, getting rid of all these attacking ideas by black? Well, against this, I am recommending you play bishop to b4, pin down this knight, and after bishop to d2, you simply continue with queen to e7, looking for the juicy break e3. In general terms, white can't stop it because if required, black can castle and put the rook on e file and then play e3. So more or less, white should deal with it. Well, let's finish up this chapter on a high note with a grandmaster game where white continue with bishop to e2, and after both decide castle, black indeed goes for e3, so that after pawn takes e3, knight takes e3, bishop takes e3, and queen takes e3, it doesn't matter whatever white plays. Not only black get bishop pair, and in the game, grandmaster continue with bishop to d7 and convert the full point. However, my recommendation is you simply take on c3 and gobble up an extra pawn, and with some careful play, black can look forward confidently in upcoming middle game with a clear pawn advantage. That's it, guys. I hope now you are confident enough to meet all the sidelines of the elephant gambit. Well, as I have shown in this video, there is a reason these are called the sidelines, and black has to fear absolutely nothing and meet these lines with confidently. Well, thank you for watching this video, and I wish you best of luck for trying this tricky elephant gambit in your tournament practice. Bye and take care.